Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're leaving Dubai and headed to Thailand on the second part of our Emirates business class tickets. For those of you who saw our flight from New York City to Dubai, you know that we extended our layover from 90 minutes to a week for only $24. But today that week is over and it's time to fly to the second country on our itinerary. So let's kick this off with a reminder of what we paid for our tickets. The cash cost for our two business class flights would have been $4,233.20. However, to reduce that cost, we opted to cash in some credit card points, leaving us to pay only the taxes and fees. Meaning, when we break the total miles and cash cost down between two people over two flights, we paid close to 76,000 miles and $639 each for each of our flights. After being dropped off at the designated Emirates area in Terminal 3, we were headed inside to get checked in for our flight. If you're flying in premium or economy class, there's a hallway off to your left that will connect you to that check-in area. But for those of you flying in business or first class, you'll just keep walking straight into the absolutely massive check-in area reserved just for Emirates guests. And I'm not exaggerating when I say massive. Every check-in counter you see in this area is either for first class or business class Emirates passengers only. We arrived at the airport around 2:30 p.m. and found even though the terminal was mostly empty, it was still completely staffed with super friendly and helpful people to make your check-in process super smooth. After getting checked in, we headed to the far end of the terminal where we found Emirates had its own security checkpoint and private elevator to take us down to Concourse A, where we would find the lounge that we could access even though our flight was not for 8 hours. Now I do want to point out they have an additional lounge in Concourse B, and which lounge you have access to will depend on which concourse your flight departs from. As we begin the tour of the lounge in Concourse A, I feel I should mention now how absolutely massive it is. It is located 3 floors above the gates and spans almost the entire width of the concourse. Beginning the tour just after the check-in desk is where you're going to find some seating and a coffee shop. Moving back across the entirety of the lounge, I'm going to take you with me as I walk the full length of the lounge, showing you the buffets, seating options, and the spa. This first buffet area is the healthy options area, serving fresh fruits, veggies, and wraps. The Timeless Spa has a large selection of treatments for you to choose from if you need a little extra TLC while you're waiting for your flight. Even though this next buffet area says Middle Eastern and Western food, it actually only offered a lot of local Arabic dishes for you to enjoy. However, when we got to the dessert buffet, this is not only where we found some sweet treats, but also the Western food offerings. They had a nacho and chili dog bar set up when we were there. Just past the dessert buffet, you'll find the Asian buffet area that seemed to be a repeat of more Arabic food offerings with a few Asian dishes mixed in. As we continue making our way down this side of the lounge, for those of you who will need a little nap, they do have these quiet loungers. However, since they are not closed off from any other areas of the airport or lounge, they aren't really all that quiet. Lastly, when we come to the far end of the lounge, we'll come to the smoking area. This area has its own buffet and drink station, offering a mix of all of the items I showed on the other buffets. Now as I begin my walk up the center aisle of the lounge, you'll see more seating as well as walkways that allow you to cross over the gates and terminal below onto the other side of the lounge. Reaching the outer edge of the lounge area on the other side, we find more seating and views of the terminal area below. And even though the buffet area on this side was not being used when we were there, the champagne lounge was open. In addition to the multiple types of champagne, they also had some small bite items for you to enjoy during your tasting. Now that we have covered all the seating and buffet areas, let's check out the bathrooms. Both the male and female bathrooms have full shower facilities, allowing you to freshen up before you hop on your flight. And with our flight leaving at 10:30 in the evening, Steve and I both opted to take advantage of this so we would be refreshed after a long day before heading into our overnight flight. After showers, it was time to head to our flight, but first let's talk about the type of aircraft we would be flying on. Our last flight was on the larger A380 that Emirates uses for their long-haul flights, but this time our flight would be half the length, so we would be flying on an A380 mid-range aircraft. This smaller aircraft actually doesn't have any first-class seats, and when picking our business class seating, we decided to sit further back and at the windows instead of side by side in the center aisle. Our seat locations were not the only thing different from our previous flight. This time we were flying on a slightly older plane, so it didn't have the newer interior finishes that our last plane did. But it did still have all the same amenities, including comfy PJs, sleep kit, headphone, and toiletry bags. Another difference in this flight was the menu. The combination of the flight being so late in the evening and half the length of our first flight meant the menu was also more limited. There were fewer dinner choices and no breakfast offerings at all. But I noticed that most people seemed to opt not to eat at all and just have their beds made up so they could get some sleep. I never sleep well on a flight, even when I have a super comfy lay-flat seat. So after a short nap, I headed into the lounge to have some tea and a cookie while chatting with the crew and a few other passengers who, like me, couldn't sleep. Pretty quickly, our 6.5-hour flight was almost over, and we were able to catch our first few glimpses of Thailand out our windows. Overall, I have to say the whole Emirates experience on both of our flights was just amazing. From the lounges to the planes to the absolutely wonderful crew, getting to fly in Emirates business class is something you should definitely add to your travel bucket list. So let us know in the comments below if you agree. We would love to hear from you and hope you'll subscribe to help us reach our goal of 1,000 followers. Also, if you hit that notification bell, you won't miss any of our upcoming happy travels as we explore Bangkok, Thailand.